Good morning, children. Today we are beginning with a new lesson, Albert Einstein at School by Patrick Pringle from our textbook Snapshots. It is surprising, students, that a genius like Albert Einstein was a miserable failure at school, although he was one of the most intelligent persons of all times and perhaps the greatest scientist since Newton. The passage deals with his miserable time at school and his expulsion. It is also a comment on the education system prevailing in Germany in those times. The lesson begins on page number 25 of Snapshots, Albert Einstein at School by Patrick Pringle. Albert Einstein from 1879 to 1955 is regarded as the greatest physicist since Newton. In the following extract from the young Einstein, the well-known biographer Patrick Pringle describes the circumstances which led to Albert Einstein's expulsion from a German school. In what year, Einstein? Asked the history teacher. Did the Prussians defeat the French at Waterloo? I don't know, sir. Why don't you know? You have been told it often enough. I must have forgotten. Did you ever try to learn? Asked Mr. Brown. No, sir. Albert replied with his unusual unthinking honesty. Why not? I can't see any point in learning dates. One can always look them up in a book. So, children, the passage begins with a conversation between Einstein and his history teacher. And his history teacher raised a question to him that in what year French were defeated. To this, Albert replied that he doesn't remember because he never tried to learn. He is frank enough, honest enough to reply in this manner. And Mr. Brown was speechless for a few moments because he was not able to understand why Albert did not learn. Because Albert felt that there was no point in learning dates. One could always see the dates in the books, so he never tried to learn the dates. You amaze me, Einstein, he said at last. Don't you realize that one can always look most things up in a book? What that applies to all facts you learn at school. Yes, sir. Then I suppose you don't see any point in learning facts. Frankly, sir, I don't, said Albert. Then you don't believe in education at all. Oh, yes, sir, I do. I don't think learning facts is education. So, children, Einstein had his own theory of education. He felt that there was no point in learning dates. One could always find those dates in the books if somebody was asking. Then the person could look into the book and tell. And then he said that learning facts was not education. He felt that education was something else than learning facts. In that case, said the history teacher with heavy sarcasm, perhaps you will be so kind as to tell the class Einstein theory of education. So a sarcastic remark was made by the history teacher on Einstein, and he asked that if you can tell to the class the theory of education, your own theory that you have developed of education. Albert flushed. Now Albert was feeling ashamed. I think it's not facts that matter, but ideas, he said. I don't see the point in learning the dates of battles, or even which of the armies killed more men. I would be more interested in learning why those soldiers were trying to kill each other. So, children, Albert Einstein believed that one should have logical reasoning. His theory of education was not learning facts but ideas. He believed that he wanted to know the reason behind whatever was happening. He believed in logical reasoning instead of learning whatever was there, mugging up or rote learning. That was not actually supported by Einstein in his theory of education. That's enough. Mr. Brown's eyes were cold and cruel. Now, Mr. Brown was very irritated. We don't want a lecture from you, Einstein. You will stay in for an extra period today. Although I don't imagine it will do you much good, it won't do the school any good either. You are a disgrace. I don't know why you continue to come. Disgrace means insult. So the teacher did not like Einstein at all, and he felt that his coming to the school neither benefited him nor the school. It's not my wish, sir, Albert pointed out. Then you are an ungrateful boy. Ought to be ashamed of yourself. I suggest you ask your father to take you away. Albert felt miserable when he left school that afternoon. So, usually, children, when the students do not learn, at that time the teacher speak, like the teacher says in the same manner, that why do you come to school? Now, Albert says that it was not his wish or his desire to come to school, and his father would never take him away. He left school that afternoon, not that it had been a bad day. Most days were bad now, anyway, but because he had to go back to that hateful place the next morning. So every day was bad only according to him, but more bad because he had to think that the next morning he would have to get up and again go to the place that he hated most. That was the school. He only wished his father would take him away, but there was no point in even asking. He knew what the answer would be. He would have to stay until he had taken his diploma. Diploma is, children, referred to here as metric examination. Like till 10th class in our country, it is considered that we receive a basic education. So, Albert's father wanted that at least he should receive the basic education so that he can get a diploma certificate, and then he could be admitted into the college. Going back to his lodgings did not cheer him up. Lodgings wherever he was to stay, wherever he was staying. So that also did not make him at all happy. His father had so little money to spare that Albert had been found a room in one of the poorest quarters of Munich. He did not mind the bad food and the lack of comfort, or even the dirt and the squalor, but he hated the atmosphere of slum violence. His landlady beat her children regularly, and every Saturday her husband came drunk and beat her. So, children, when he returned back home, that also did not make him happy because he could afford a room only in the poorest locality of Munich where he was staying. For him, the food or the lack of comfort or the dirt in the surroundings, that was okay. But he hated the atmosphere of slum violence. Now, slum violence here is referred, again he is describing the slum violence. He says that his landlady used to beat her children regularly, and every Saturday her husband came drunk and beat her. But at least you have a room of your own, which is more than I can say, said Yuri when he called round in the evening. So Yuri, his only friend there, so he told all whatever he felt to Yuri, who was older in age in comparison to Albert. So Yuri told that okay, whatever it is, but still he is having his own room to study. At least you live among civilized human beings, even if they are all poor students, said Albert. So Albert pointed out to Yuri that Yuri was living among the civilized human beings, means educated fellow or civilized, modernized, you can say. They are not all civilized, Yuri replied. Did you not hear that one of them was killed last week in a duel? Duel is a fight between two. So Yuri says that if you are assuming that everybody there is civilized, you are wrong. Because last week only in a duel, one had killed the other. And what happens to the one who killed him? Albert asked Yuri. Nothing, of course. He is even proud of it. His only worry is that the authorities have told him not to fight any more duels. He is upset about this because he hasn't a little single scar on his face to wear for the rest of his life as a badge of honor. So Yuri says that the boy who had killed the other boy, he was as not adult. He was still in his teens. Therefore, the government did not give him strict punishment and did not put him behind the bars. He was spared. And for that, he is feeling very sad because he was not having now any badge of honor that he could show to people that because he had killed somebody, he got this scar on the face or the badge of honor that he went to the prison and stayed there for a considerable number of days and all that. So he feels very sad about it that he cannot show to people that he was such a brave fellow that he had killed the other boy. Ugh, exclaimed Albert. And these are students. Well, you will be a student one day, said Yuri. I doubt it, said Albert glumly. I don't think I will ever pass the exams for the school diploma. So Albert doubts that he will never move to the college because he will never be able to pass the examination for the school diploma. He told his cousin Elsa the same next time she came to Munich. Normally she lived in Berlin, where her father had a business. I'm sure you could learn enough to pass the exams, Albert, if you tried, she said. I know lots of boys who are much more stupid than you are, who get through. They say you don't have to know anything. You don't have to understand what you are taught. Just be able to repeat it in the exams. So the same thing that he had told to Yuri that he will never be able to pass the examination for the school diploma, he told his cousin Elsa also. Elsa was living then in Berlin and she came to Munich at that time when Albert talked to her. And she told that a lot of boys who are more stupid than him, they also pass because of the rote learning. So he could also do just mug up everything and just vomit out in the examination at the time of examination. That's the whole trouble, said Albert. I am no good at learning things by heart. You don't need to be good at that. Anyone can learn like a parrot. You just don't try. And yet I always see you with a book under your arm, added Elsa. What is the one you are reading? A book on geology. So Elsa finds always a book with him. And she's amazed that Albert says that he doesn't know how to learn by heart. She suggests that anyone can learn like a parrot. Repeat, 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 and then you will be able to learn that thing. And Albert was carrying always with him a book of geology. Geology? Rocks and things. Do you learn that? No, we have hardly a science at school. Then why are you studying it? Because I like it. Isn't that a good enough reason? Elsa sighed. Why? Because Elsa knew that learning geology will not make him pass the school diploma examination. You are right, of course, Albert, she said, but it won't help you with your diploma. Apart from books on science, his only comfort was music, and he played his violin regularly until his landlady asked him to stop.